I tell the guys, we're thin but mighty. Anybody that's ever asked about our program over the last few years, I've been saying the same thing. And
Bridgeton's always been a tough football team. You know, one thing about us is we're going to play tough. We love to hit. You know, hitting is like preached, and it's like the gospel in Bridgeton.
I don't want to have all these rules and all these things that you got to try and memorize. Just the word all in. All in.
Football is one of the greatest sports in the world.
It was certainly emotional, no doubt about it. It always is between us and Ocean City.
I don't like losing. The kids don't like losing. And I don't want to lose to the same team over and over and over again. We want to win a state championship.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Cal One-on-One, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service right here on Cape Atlantic Live. I'm your host, Nick Kosko, as we roll on with our 2025 high school football season previews. With me today is Bridgeton head coach Dom Williams. Coach, good to talk to you again. I feel like we just connected just last season. You guys got off to a hot start. Great season for your Bulldogs in 2024, but now it's year two under your regime, and safe to say the expectations are now going up here for 2025.
Right, absolutely, man. It was very refreshing. I didn't know it would happen this fast.
When you, I guess to hammer home that point, were you expecting like, all right, this is gonna be a slow build. We're gonna establish a new culture, new foundation, and all of a sudden, you guys are off and running. 6-4 last year, made the South Jersey Group 5 quarterfinals against, again, a state championship team, but playoff appearance last year for Bridgeton. All of a sudden, where it was like, hey, we didn't expect this to happen that fast.
Yeah, definitely didn't. You know, the kids bought in, and also the coaches. I can't just sit there and say that it was all me. You know, we all bought in together. It was a community effort, and for it to happen as fast as it did, everybody played a part in that. And I'm just grateful to have everybody, on the team and have my back. That was fun, man.
What did you notice over the course of last year? I think you guys got off, what was it, to a 4-0 start, and you were like one of the stories of basically by the time we got to October, it's like, wow, this program got turned around pretty fast with you and your staff. What did you notice week to week last year? And I guess how did that translate into the offseason this year, where you're going to have a lot of guys back? We'll talk about that later. A lot of key guys back. Your staff has been, very supportive of what you wanted to build at Bridgeton. What did you notice, I guess, pretty much as the season wore on into the offseason? You're like, okay, this is we have something brewing now.
I knew we were really, we had the potential to be really, really good. But, as the season went on, I saw the fatigue, not just in the players, but, the coaching staff, the teachers. Everything was just happening so much that the school wasn't used to. And, I use that word fatigue because I seen everybody get tired as we kept winning. And then the injuries started to happen. So, this year, those guys are already considering themselves vets, and they're so into it. And, a lot of them want to continue to, after football and become coaches themselves. So I put them in position to do that and make them aware that this is going to be a long season. If we plan on going to the playoffs and going further. So, just being a little bit more patient and strategic with our off season has helped build off of what we did last year. So that's what I learned during the season.
What does that look like in the off season? Are you making sure these kids are like, let's just say, they're hammering home lifts that first month or two of the off season training, whether it's strength and conditioning, speed training? Do you make sure to check in, you and your staff, on each player? It's like, okay, you've hit the ground really hard running this whole week. We want you to take 2 days off. Is it something along those lines?
Yeah. I'm speaking to a ton of my old coaches that are strength coaches. I have friends who are strength coaches in college and NFL and stuff like that. And just, asking them questions about how I can prepare these young men for a longer season, and just to maintain their strength and utilizing the progressive overloads and rest time, getting them in ice baths and things like that. So really implementing like a college system for them now so that they can really get like the entire thing. So they weren't used to working out as hard as they was working out and then going to school and then winning and playing games. So I think they're used to it now, and they're just kind of trying to teach the younger kids how to do it. It's refreshing for me because I don't have to coach as much. I can really get into the fine, details of the play versus trying to teach them the play, or if that makes sense.
Yeah, that obviously definitely makes sense. When you, I get, maybe it's the word. Maybe I'll use the word delegate here. Delegate here. Are you counting on your upperclassmen, your juniors and your seniors, because they saw the success last year? They saw this new version of the Bridgeton football program. Do you look to those guys first? Even before your staff, it's like, hey, this is on you guys. It's not all on you, but we want you guys to take this by the reins and see what you can do to inspire your teammates as we roll through the offseason. And by the time we're back on the field, we're all kind of one piece.
Right. They kind of took that on. They owned that themselves. Right. They came into this year and, they knew what we could have done last year. Again, by the time, we won 5 games in a row.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff was happening at once and they weren't used to that. So they've kind of taken ownership of this being a player-led team. I spoke upon it last year and they didn't quite understand what I meant by it being a player-led team. But as the year went on and they played sports together, they all went to basketball together and track together. Them just sticking together all year, they understand now what it's like to be a player-led team. Just holding each other accountable. And that's what I'm seeing. That delegation for me and not having to punish the entire team for anything, they help each other about it. And that's a huge difference from last year to this year.
When you see the player-led type stuff, it obviously stems on the football field. It goes into the weight room. Have you noticed that in the classroom as well, where it's like, hey, you got to keep the grades up, keep your head in the books, because if that doesn't work out, you're not going to be able to do the great stuff we did on the football field just last year.
Yeah, man, they compete with each other, and they've been meeting with a ton of coaches. Everything's a competition. We have, I don't want to give away my secret, but everything's a competition. Yeah. And they know, at the end of the month, the winning team gets something. So
okay.
We do grades, we do assignments, because we can, I get their assignments.
Yeah.
They have a syllabus that we create for them, and me and the coaches can see their assignments as well. So it's almost like I said, I try to do as much as I've done in college and kind of incorporate it in the high school level. And they thrive off of it.
Yeah.
So when it comes to grades, they really, really compete. And our quarterback has a 4.3. So it's hard.
He's doing pretty well right now.
Yeah. He rubs it in their face all the time.
Hey, that's a good thing to brag about right there, considering he plays the most important position on the field as well. Right. To piggyback off the college notion for you, because again, of your experience in college and of course playing in the NFL, when you implement college style program, for lack of a better term, college things into a high school program, what does that look like? Are you trying to stress more of the football stuff from the college atmosphere? Is it some of the academics? I know obviously college academics and high school academics drastically different depending upon what you're doing, but do you implement more of the football stuff from your college experience into the program, or is it kind of a mixture of both?
It's everything. I'm talking even down to the terminology that you would hear, the terminology you would hear in the NFL, the terminology you'll hear in college. My son is trying to hear.
He's excited for the football season too. I don't blame him.
Yeah, he's definitely excited. But to answer that question, everything, literally, the terminology. We have mandatory study halls, tutoring every day, everything, really the total package. And when the college coaches used to come in to speak with some of the players, I prepared the players with questions to ask the college recruiters and the college coaches that came to see them, just so that they can see we're doing that already. When the college coaches respond. And one of the kids was like, did you talk to the coach before? Yeah, he got here because he's saying everything that you're saying. And I'm like, no, it's universal. Yeah. Right. I went to college, and then I also go back and ask questions to all of my friends who are college coaches. And I try to implement all of the things that they will possibly run into when they get to college, so that it's not a shock to them like it was to me when I first got to college.
That makes sense. So we'll dive into 2025, the guys that are coming back this year. Again, a lot of key guys for you, upperclassmen as well, that can make this a successful season. So we'll dive into that in just a sec. We'll take a quick break. This is Cal 101 right here on Cape Atlantic Live.
This broadcast is brought to you by Harbor Jiu-Jitsu. Located in Egg Harbor Township, Harbor Jiu-Jitsu is more than just training. Both adults and kids can gain practical skills that give you real confidence, build physical and mental resilience, and you can join a team that's here to help you grow. Featuring no gi, wrestling, and MMA classes. Harbor Jiu-Jitsu is the most dynamic gym in South Jersey. For more information, check out harborjiujitsu.com.
So looking ahead at 2025, Coach, you already alluded to your quarterback. I'll start with him there, Dante Howell. 4.3 GPA, so I can only imagine what he's already learning on the football field as well. What have you noticed, especially for a quarterback that goes from a junior to now, this is it for him until he goes to college and either plays quarterback, another position, or heck, maybe he doesn't even play football. He just goes to the next level. What have you noticed out of him from last season through the offseason, and what he could bring to the field here this fall?
Man, a huge jump. His weight room numbers increased. He leaned out. Really, one of the biggest things is him being able to handle his schedule.
Mm-hmm.
He handles his schedule very well because he takes college classes in the summer. So right now, him and a few other players are taking college courses before we do workouts. And just seeing him handle it with so much poise, and then come onto the field and be the leader, right? And him being able to process some of the plays that I'm throwing at him now, right?
Yeah.
Going through his reads, it's so much smoother and easier. Last year was the first time him hearing the language and having to go through his progressions, right? He never had to do that before. He just went out and played football.
Right.
But now I'm teaching him different levels, and the quarterback coach is teaching him different levels to make him a better football quarterback. Not just a quarterback, but a football player, a better football player. And he's starting to understand the game a lot more. And he was one of the ones yesterday while we were going through like our walkthrough or whatever. He was like, man, I really feel like a vet. Like I understand everything now. And then he's coaching the younger guys, and he's excited to see some of the younger guys next year, because he's like, oh man, they get to, because we have a freshman quarterback who's really good. He's like, man, they get to get it their freshman year, and I got it my junior year.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm excited for them. But he's like, man, everything's so much clearer to me now. And I was like, I love that part about coaching, when they get it. And it's like a light bulb's clicked in their head and they get it.
Yeah. And then that chemistry just builds. And you just mentioned the player-led team right there. And obviously Dante Howell is doing that. Some of the other guys that are going to be key guys for you on offense and also defense, guys like Jazeer Thompson, Omar Button, Jeremiah Russell, just these skill guys that are really going to, watching you guys last year, the speed was evident, high scoring. You guys could really, stretch the field, go sideline to sideline as well on offense and defense. Two of those guys are juniors, and Russell is a senior going into this coming football season. When you look at the chemistry that Dante's had with those guys, and I guess the offense as a cohesive unit, what have you noticed in terms of that team chemistry? Maybe it was evident in the first 5 games last year. Then you mentioned that fatigue where it's like, all right, well, one hiccup and then all of a sudden there's a snowball effect. What have you noticed now going into 2025 with that chemistry?
Those guys love each other. That's what I know. They really have played together for such a long time. But one thing I notice is that when they make a mistake, they self-correct.
Yeah.
And whereas last year they might have yelled at each other, this year it's a conversation. It's like, oh man, I forgot. And then they're teaching each other some of the small details of making the route better, or getting to their depth, right? And then the timing of the play. Again, like really them understanding those little small details that make the play better versus trying to memorize what they have to do. They know what they have to do, right? The whole playbook. They don't mess up on the plays anymore. Like they know the plays. If they wanted to, they can call the plays because they understand my mindset when I'm doing play calling. Because I'll be calling the offense this year. I didn't call the offense last year, but I will be this.
Oh, okay. So it's a if they're able to do that, it almost seems like it'll be much easier for even your communication back and forth with the players. Other guys, Jaden Barnett Jr. this year, linebacker and tight end, Jarrell Burks, a two-way guy as a receiver and a corner. All these guys are very important. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the big uglies up front. Me as a former one, not that big. I wasn't the 6'3", 240. I was, 5'11", 195. But I mean, for a Group 5 school like you guys, where you're going up against, again, for example, you guys played, a team in Toms River North in the playoffs last year that won 3 state titles in a row, and they got some big boys. When you look at your offensive defensive line, have you noticed maybe these guys are even getting bigger year to year? How have you been able to build up the trenches from year 1 to year 2?
Those guys they've gotten stronger. And another one of the key points of it all was they stayed together the entire year. Like, it was a good 7 of those guys. We only lose 2 guys on the offensive line. But the 2 we're replacing them with, I don't want to say it, but they're a little bit better than them, just because they worked the entire last year. Right. And they're ready. They couldn't wait for this moment. And they're all juniors. On the offensive line right now, we have 1 senior. So so I'm excited to see, what they do. Like I said, they are like best friends. Like those, if you ever seen the linemen, like they did track together and they just stuck together all season. And it's just a beautiful thing. My son is here. He want to say hi. You want to say hi?
Yeah, he can absolutely say hi. Because he's gonna probably. Hey, what's going on? We're gonna get him on the football team within the next 10 plus years.
Yeah, he loves it. I swear, man, he thinks he's a coach.
Well, I mean, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned it because I feel like the Bridgeton community has rallied around over the last calendar year, and I think we talked about this last year, where you wanted to bring that aspect of the football program and the community and throughout the entire school back, where these kids, you've mentioned a couple times, very player led. Now going into year 2 with you and your staff, they all love each other. They hang out. They play multiple sports together. Have you noticed that community buzz just return to a lot more positivity from 24 to 25, where it's like, yeah, the football team was successful. The kids are doing better on and off the field, wherever the case may be. Have you noticed a significant, maybe it's a culture change pretty much over the last 365 days?
I mean, I will say everybody's anticipating this year. All right. They're excited to see some of those seniors that did well last year. The kids they're seeing the kids work out and they're getting stronger, they're bigger and faster. There's a lot of buzz and a lot of community help too. A lot of people want to help us continue to build the program, but not just the high school program, the Major League program. Our feeder program hasn't been, what it should be or what it used to be. I won't say that it hasn't been good, but it, when I was coming up into our Major League program, we were really good. And we're working together to get back to that. I'll definitely be working closer with the Major League programs this year, especially the 8th grade team. Which I think it's 14U now or 12, whatever. I don't know.
Change every year, it seems like.
I'll be working with the middle school kids, just kind of getting them our playbook early, just so that they can get the basics of what we're doing. So when they come to high school, it's much easier, and they're excited for that. One of the coaches for that level was my high school teammate, so we've already spoke. And then just everybody from the community is just so excited for everything.
Yes, I can recall back to, I'm from EHT, and I remember when we played, back when I was in, coming up in youth football and, middle school. But back then, as you mentioned, the Bridgeton youth football program was, it was like one of the juggernaut youth programs in South Jersey. And then it didn't quite translate to the high school. And now it seems like it's in reverse, but going into year 2 for you guys, it's almost like they're both now, it's very cohesive, where you guys are on the rise, and then the youth program is back on the rise, where now they're pretty much at the same level. Is that kind of how you see it too?
Yeah. And that's just working together, us working with them, You know, I have the league president is on my staff.
Mm.
You know, and we're him really getting to see how, you know, I operate as a head coach and how we run our day to day really helps, you know, with him coaching down at that level and running the organization, and then getting some of the coaches over to practice with us during the summer when we do just our walkthroughs and things like that. Seeing that jump is it's going to take time.
Yeah.
You know, my coach, my offensive coordinator, who was my college offensive coordinator, who is an offensive I think he's an offensive line coach at New England Patriots now.
Mm.
He, you know, one thing he told me, his name is Jason Haas. He told me it takes 4 years to build a program, and you kind of built it in not even 1 year, but in a couple months. He was like, "You're doing a great job. Don't beat yourself up." So that's kind of what I'm trying not to do, but it's hard because I wish I could do everything.
Yeah. It's certainly going to be a slow burn, but it's already paid off in 1 year. It could pay off again this year. So, Coach, I appreciate your time. I'll leave you here with this one. I've asked every coach, you know, leading up to the season, you know, programs, you know, go by a motto, phrase, one word that really defines the program. Changes every year, or some just keep the same one year to year. What's the one phrase or word that describes Bridgeton football here in 2025?
We have two. You know, the biggest one is earn it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has to be earned. That was our slogan last year, and we're gonna stick to that. Just because I want them to work for it. You know, understand that, you know, even though we're good in the moment, we still have to keep earning every single win. Mm-hmm. Right? No one is just gonna come in and think like, "Oh, Bridgeton is good. They beat the last team. They might beat us." No, we have to earn that respect. Mm-hmm. Keep earning it. And then the last one is no water in the boat. You know, that's talking to their attitude if something goes wrong, being able to adjust quickly, fighting through adversity. That was really, really big for us, and they got to see what that phrase meant throughout the season. We started to let water in the boat with some of our mistakes and outside things that was happening in school and in the community. It started to affect us on the field, and that's what no water in the boat means. Leave it at home or whatever it is that you're going through. Leave it out there. When it's time to play football, let's play football.
I like that one, especially that latter one, though. No water in the boat. So we'll see how you guys do with that in 2025. Again, the season opener is against Del Rand at Rowan for the Battle at the Beach showcase at the end of August. Looking forward to that one as well. Coach, appreciate your time. Good luck this season, and looking forward to circling back with you again as we see the rise of Bridgeton Bulldogs football.
Man, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Cal One-on-One right here is presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. Be sure to check out the rest of our content on Cape Atlantic Live on the YouTube channel. And be sure to check out the live games coming this season here in 2025.